LawFlip, objection, your honor.
Turn the game upside down.
LawFlip, objection, your honor.
Turn the game upside down.
Okay, welcome to LawFlip. It's an unfiltered conversation about law, life, business, and being a boss. I'm Benjy Smith. So according to our guest, he has the hottest podcast, hottest clothing lines, hottest run club, hottest brain in the world. And he might just be right. And so let's flip the game upside down. We have guest Dee Murthy. Dee, welcome.
Thank you for having me. What an intro. I like that. I would have
Not
preferred
bad.
Number one in the world. Number one
podcast in the world. He's not crazy for saying it. I'm a big fan of group chat. And so welcome, Dee. You're not a lawyer, but you are a huge inspiration to me and a bunch of other lawyers and professionals that need to hear people like you. And so where do we start? I've known you for like 20 years. I've done some legal work for you. I think we met through some weird USC connections. I think my friend Barrett may have gotten me in the mix with you and Brian Toll and Andres. And over the last several years, you've evolved into becoming a personality, a big personality. I mean, you've always been a big personality, but you really put yourself out there. And I've learned a lot from you. I've been inspired by a lot of the things that you've done. And I thought that I should share some of what you've done with our audience. And so let's see. So take us back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Granada Hills, California, in the San Fernando Valley.
And you went to Granada High School, right? You went to
Granada Hills High School. A very famed alumni we have from there.
Yeah.
John Elway, Ryan Braun, who plays for the Brewers, and
the
Travis
Hebrew Hammer.
Kalanick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Travis went to Granada. Travis Kalanick of Uber.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So then you went to USC, and what are your thoughts on USC? Are you a proud alumni?
I'm a angry alumni.
Why?
I'm just, when I was growing up, going to USC for me was like lifelong dream. There's a picture of me when I was 5 years old wearing a USC sweatshirt. I don't even know why. My parents went to college in India. We had no connection to USC, but it was just something. It was just in my head. And when I applied to colleges, I was fortunate enough to get into all these great California colleges, but I was so headstrong on going to USC. I go to USC, and frankly, my experience at USC wasn't a great one. Like, it's a very segregated, non-welcoming school, and so I go there, and I'm like,
do you mean from a white versus brown versus black type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges of college is high school, you're in the most diverse environment and everybody's friends with everybody. Right. College becomes a segregated environment, specifically USC. You would see, like, even amongst Asian people, it's the Koreans, the Chinese,
right,
and the Japanese, and the Indians. And then there's white people, and then there's different types of white people. And then there's, like, the rich white people and the poor white people, and there's the black people, and then there's the athletes. It's like, I was like, damn, this sucks. And then, but I enjoyed my experience. I met incredible friends. I start my business. I go on, into the business world and have success. And then what's happened to the school is kind of embarrassing because, the only reason why I went to USC was to be an alumnus, to have a connection with the program.
Sure.
And I have no connection to that school today.
So a couple of things. You did meet, you said that it was kind of not a great experience, but the people that, I noted this when I talked to Brian Toll. I mean, your friend group that you met, a lot of those friends were from USC, and you have one of the most successful friend groups I've seen. So that you did get some benefit out of there, but you started 5-4 out of USC. Take us through where you came out of USC into where you are now, how many companies you have, and how many employees.
Yeah, so we started in the entrepreneurship program at USC. They ask you before you start your senior year to come up with an idea and work on the idea the whole year. Do a feasibility study, do a business plan on it. Andres, my business partner, and I were toying with a bunch of ideas. The dot-com kind of boom and bust had just happened. So anything technology was really taboo at that time. So we were like, what's safe? apparel will always be there. Kind of fascinated me. He was super into fashion. So we were like, let's go focus on building an apparel brand. The inspiration really was a trip to New York Andres and I took, stayed in one of his friends' floors. He wanted to go see a store in New York that just opened on Fifth Avenue. And I was like, I can't afford anything on Fifth Avenue. Like, this is stupid. So he's going and shopping like crazy and he's broke. So I'm like, how is this guy affording this? I finally flip over the price tag. I see a jacket. It was like $30. And I go to Andres. I'm like, what is this store? And he goes, it's H&M. It's the first one in America. And my head exploded because I had never seen fashion affordable. Fashion to me seemed like only unattainable. Like growing up, it was like where whatever on sale at PacSun and Ross and TJ Maxx, and that was my kind of style.
Right.
And, I didn't get anything. Like when I asked my mom for the Gap, she said it was too expensive. We can't afford it.
Yeah. That gives us a context of what you were dealing with.
Yes, exactly. So fashion was not ingrained in our blood. But we get to college, we end up researching H&M, and we're blown away. Like the supply chain that H&M and Zara had built, they'd made fashion accessible all over the world. And that hadn't come to America yet. The idea of fast fashion in the year 2000, 2001 was so novel. And they were the first one was only in 2001 in
That's
New
crazy.
York City. And so that's not that long ago, right? And so that's got us excited that fast fashion was going to come to America, and we want to be a player in that. We didn't understand what that took or what that meant, but we knew that's where we wanted to go. And so we launched a brand called 5-4 on campus. And I always joke, the worst thing anyone can do is support you when you start your business, your friends. Because it
gives you a false sense of it, you're doing the right thing. So, okay, so then today, how many companies are you sort of own or involved in?
Yeah, so 5-4 Group still exists today. We own and operate 9 brands. We have over 100 employees. That's just in the fashion, accessory, footwear space. Outside of that, I'm a partner in a venture fund with my brother and 2 other guys that are close friends. And we've been fortunate enough to launch a lot of really cool businesses and brands over the last kind of 18 years. But it really all started with a very simple project at USC.
Yeah. And how is your management what's your management style? 100 employees. I've talked to you about this before. Managing a company and managing people is incredibly hard. How have you figured out the operations and allowing yourself to do what's in your sweet spot and let everybody else do what's in their sweet spot?
I mean, I've definitely struggled to be a manager. There's a huge difference between an entrepreneur and a great manager. I don't think I'm a great manager by any stretch of the imagination. I think I'm a great creator. I can't, it's hard for me to follow rules, follow norms. If I did that, I don't think we'd be where we are today. Would have already been out of business. But what I've learned is I can create, take things to a certain stage, and then I have to hand it off to people that know how to maintain or slowly grow it. But I'll be the explosion to get something going, but I'm not the one that's going to we have a weekly meeting or Zoom call now for our entire staff. I haven't been on it in 2 years because honestly, it frustrates me hearing I'm not meant for that. So what I've realized is I got to play to my strengths and what I'm good at. I am good at getting in the weeds, focusing, fixing problems, creating new businesses, creating new opportunities, business development. But I'm still the CEO of the business, but I know where I should stick my nose in and where I shouldn't.
It's interesting that you say that, though, because most lawyers, they feel like they have to do it all. They have to do A through Z. If they start their own firm, they cannot relinquish control. Maybe because ego, maybe because they don't feel like anybody else can do it as well as they can. So I think it's a strength that you've been able to figure that out, as opposed to continuing to try to do something that you sort of know you're not great at. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's at some point you can't do it all, and you have to trust people, and that trust just comes with that person's either going to sink or swim. So fuck it, give them a shot, see what happens.
Sure. Okay.
I'm a dice. I'm a dice roller at the end of the day.
Yeah, you are definitely like a dart thrower. You take shots, and you and I think the Hundreds, our friends Balby and Ben Hundreds, are pretty much the only. When people say I want to do a fashion line, I'm like, literally, I know two people in my entire life that have sustained businesses in fashion. It's Dee and Andres on the one, and the Hundreds. And what do you think it is that's allowed you guys to stay in this business for so long and have such long-term success?
I think the biggest is, one is we're not afraid to fail. Two, we don't have an ego. So if we're wrong, we're wrong. But at least I tried, and we're okay with switching our business model. I mean, we've switched our business model 5 times in the last 18 years. We're more, what we are today is the business plan we actually wrote. We are closer to a fast fashion. What we actually ended up launching was a streetwear brand that evolved into a premium brand, that evolved into a modern day J. Crew, which is now today a fast fashion player. And so it took us damn near 20 years to get to what we actually want to do. And we're now more of a platform. We're not just hung up on our namesake brand. 5-4 is one of the brands. It's not even the biggest anymore. And
right.
We're okay with that.
But you talk about being an entrepreneur, and I wonder, do you feel like if you just went sort of the quote unquote safe route and you became an employee and did either you did finance, or you did something that was more obvious that you were going to make a ton of money from, do you think you may have done better financially than you've done as an entrepreneur? And do you care one way or the other?
So I do think I would have done better. I think if I had gone in at that time, finance was kind of the en vogue profession. And if I'd taken that route, and even if I didn't get the creme de la creme job, but I worked hard and stayed focused, I unfortunately have had to go through a couple really bad recessions that changed my trajectory a lot, right? Like 2008 pretty much brought us to our knees. Like we were growing so quickly back then, and then we went to a sub $1 million business, handful of employees that stuck around, and we were just like, okay, now what? And so we essentially had to start over 7 years into our business. And so if I'd taken the more traditional route, I probably would have been able to save money. I probably would have been able to do things that I wouldn't have done, differently. The difference is financially, we'll see how it all plays out, because now we have quite large businesses that have enormous upside in terms of an exit and things of that sort. But I lived such an incredible life, and now being a parent and viewing life from a different lens, I just realized I actually never really cared about money.
Right. That's yeah. So that's interesting. So the money aspect of it. So when I look at your career, I hear you talk about, I heard you say yesterday on your podcast or a couple of days ago, like, some people view summer as like a seasonal thing, like everyday summer for me. And so lawyers and other people, they would have too much of an ego to say something like that, because that would be viewed as like not working hard, or like you almost were taking pride in the fact that you have a good time. And that's something that's so counter to the culture, like this hustle hard culture. And like, it is also baffling because you have your hands in so many things. You make yourself available for so many things. How do you balance this like awesome responsibility you have on so many levels with having a good time?
I mean, I think it's the attitude you approach everything to, right? Like there's people that look at the world half full, and there's people that look at the glass half empty, right? And like, to me, I look at everything as like a privilege that I get to do this, right? Like what I get to do for a living, I view it as a privilege. So even in the hardest, darkest days, it's still like, such an amazing thing what I get to do for a living. Like, I get to make clothes. I'm not like, and if I make a mistake, someone doesn't get their package right, like, what cares, right? Like, my biggest mistake doesn't really affect anyone's life.
Right.
You know, and then now we're getting to do podcasts and we get to create content. We're making impact on people's lives. I mean, I've always been this like dreamer that like I want to make an impact in the world. And I used to think you had to do that by being very wealthy, or and you have to do something crazy. But the most valuable thing you can give people is your time. And that's like my payback for having this incredible life. So it's like, I feel like it's my duty. Like I've been gifted this incredible life. So
what do you think, what do you think has given you, how do you think you've gotten there, and where do you think people are getting it wrong? Is it literally just like shifting your mindset to having the glass half full? Is that what you think gives us ability?
I think for me, it's been because I was raised through it, right? Like my mom always believed in doing the right thing and treating people a certain way. And it's part of like the religion I grew up, which is Hinduism, which is, karma is a big part of it. And if you think about karma, why would you ever want to put negative energy out into the world? If karma is real, then that means that shit's coming back at you. And so I'm so terrified when I have success that like something's going to balance me out. So right. I'm literally, the moment things start going well, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do for people? Like, how can we help people? How can we make our situation better? Because anything that goes up too high always comes down. And so I'd rather just be like, there's a Seinfeld episode where Jerry's like even Steven. He throws out $1 out of the window and he finds $1 in his pocket. That's me, like the perfect situation in life is just be as balanced as possible.
You do.
I don't want to.
You do it seems impossible for you because you just have your hands in so many things. But I think one of the things I've learned from you is that you really surround yourself with people who are in line with that. Like if you do run club, you have like Luke to help you with the run club, or you surround yourself that support that thing. And then like somebody, I think a lot of us looking at you think like, this guy is fearless. This guy is completely fearless. What, if any, like what is something that you fear? Like on a day-to-day or even a sometimes basis, or are you the fearless guy that we think you are?
Honestly, lawsuits scare me the most.
Okay, people who are listening, do not sue Dee.
It's we've unfortunately been on the wrong side of a lot of legal issues, and honestly, when I look at them super impartially, it's like bad luck in a lot of these cases, or a bad lawyer, or a bad circumstance, or maybe the way we approached it. So when I'm running around trying new things, I'm way more cautious on how I go about it, because I know that the consequence is not what I actually think it is. The consequence is that someone out there is watching us and saying, you're not following the rules, and right. I'm going to catch you right. if you slip up. And so that, unfortunately, is the thing that honestly like gets me nervous about growth and success, is that like there's a team of you guys waiting for us to have success.
I promise you, if anybody comes to me, I am conflicting myself out of it. I am not going after you. So the marketing, one of the things you've done is you pivoted. You basically made yourself the face of all these different brands, and everybody wants to sort of work with you. You've done podcasting, you've done all these different things. What's the key to marketing in your eyes in 2020?
So it's the most overused word, but it's like authentic and keeping it real. Everyone sugarcoats everything, right? And that's okay, but at some point you got to be honest and tell people what's really going on. And so people connect with the honesty. People connect with the idea that, damn, that person's normal. That person, like so many people will never share, how fast they run or how they look after a night out of drinking, or that they drink, or that when you're stressed out, you get drunk, or like everyone wants to look perfect in everyone's eyes.
You definitely like to have a drink or two.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I drink every single night, and I'm hungover when I go on my morning run, and like, but that's more realistic of what it like. I'm not living a stress-free life. So I'm like, I am stressed out every day. I do go to sleep with things on my mind. And I think most people in marketing want to tell the story of who they want to be, not who they actually are. And if you actually tell the story, it's more, regular people are more interesting than celebrities. That's why reality show works. That's why no one cares why so many A-list celebrities can't sell. I did a project for bandanas and masks for, I'm talking A+ celebrity. And they were so excited how many he sold. And I didn't want to be rude. I'm like, I sold more in one day than this guy sold in a week. And I'm just like, and he's the biggest. He's a mega movie star. And I just realized people just, in this new world, if you like, it's about like a real relationship with people that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Yeah, and you have done that like with Run Club, with your meetups, with your entrepreneurial meetups, with group chat. I know that you're not like directly making any money out of group chat and the Run Club, but I guess what part of it was the good karma? What part of it was marketing? And what benefits have you seen that you'd like to share with people to say like, hey, if you provide value, you're going to get benefits from providing value, even if there's not a direct, tangible benefit?
So the one thing people always say, and you mentioned it earlier, like, oh my God, you have such great friends and a great network. If I had gone to the army, I would still have had the best network. And I didn't go to USC. It's because I put the effort into building those relationships. So what all these things like the podcast, a Run Club does is actually connect me with more people. I am so curious. Like most people are not curious. They're not intellectually curious. We're like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I sell tape. I'm like, really? What's the gross margin on tape? I'd sit and talk to a guy who sells tape for 1 hour. And I'd want to know.
I take depositions of people, and you're probably not supposed to do this, but I ask a few extra questions that have nothing to do with the case because I just want to know what the bank manager at Bank of America does.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you're a curious person and you go and build these relationships, you just never you just never know when they're going to come in handy. And my last 18, 20 years, in those weird moments, these relationships, I'm like, oh my God, that person makes masks. I should hit them up right now. There's a global pandemic. It's a great time to start making masks. So it's just like, it's just, you as an entrepreneur, look, if you're just a traditional professional, maybe it doesn't matter. But like as an entrepreneur, like what you do, why not know everybody? There is a time and place that you're going to need to have that person in your Rolodex. And so for me, one is just being curious and building those relationships. Two, the other is if you're helpful to people, they are helpful to you. Like there are retailers that I've done so much for. If I have a new project, a new anything, it's no questions asked. We'll carry it in all our stores. We'll do this. It's one of the reasons why Young and Reckless was able to grow so quickly is because we had this extensive network of retailers that we've been doing business with, and they loved doing business with us. So when we brought them something new, they were like, oh yeah, of course, we'll give whatever you guys do a shot. And I think that's what it comes down to, is that like those relationships will come in handy at some point, but when they come in handy and when you'll actually use them, you can't put a price on that. You just have to be patient.
Yeah, and so one of your group chat fans actually sent me a question. They said, basically, you operate in some ways as a tech company, even though you run fashion companies. Any cool emerging technology trends you see in the fashion space?
All the things that people want to happen in fashions, I don't think is coming anytime soon. So augmented reality, all those amazing things. Oh, people always are pitching me, why can't we make the fit perfect for men's t-shirts? Because I'm like, men don't care about fit for the perfect t-shirt. They just don't yet, right? And I think the technology side of fashion that will evolve will be the digital experience, like just improving it to shop online and the delivery of those goods. I don't think it's going to be where like, oh, you get to shop in a digital closet, like what everyone wants to happen. Fashion companies are so archaic. The people that are running the biggest brands in the world, don't care about e-commerce. They have to care about it now because of a global pandemic. But if you had asked them in January, they'd say, it's only 10% of my business. What do I care?
Right.
And so unfortunately, fashion is like the least prepared for the technology revolution. It's kind of sad. And so the opportunity is just onboarding more people to focus their efforts on e-commerce.
Okay, a couple current topics. Could you explain to everybody why the stock market is doing well, why there is record unemployment and during the COVID crisis? Do you have an explanation for that and why the stock prices are up?
So the only explanation, because I've asked bankers, private equity, I asked everyone. The only thing that I've heard over and over again is, so the Federal Reserve has given pretty much unlimited amount of liquidity to the biggest companies in the world and the biggest investors. So if they need money or cash at low interest rates, they can have it. And the problem is when you have billions and billions and in some cases trillions of dollars, you have to put it to work. You can't let it sit in cash. That's part of one of the rules, right? The only thing you can buy right now that's liquid, that over a long period of time is guaranteed to go up, is the stock market. And the problem is like real estate, no one's going to buy right now with so much uncertainty in commercial and retail. So really, where can you park $50 billion?
Right.
It's just the stock market. And and what companies? You're not going to go take a risk on some unknown startup. What are you going to buy? You're going to buy Amazon, you're going to buy Google, you're going to buy Facebook. And by the way, all of those are at record highs.
Sure.
So that's the only thing I can understand at this point.
Okay, on to Trump. Have to talk about Trump. So you're a major league entrepreneur. You have been for a long time. And entrepreneurs are supposed to be, or at least like successful entrepreneurs are supposed to be conservative for some reason. They're if you're doing well in business, you should be a Republican.
Yep.
You're not a Republican. You support Democratic policies. Why?
To me, it goes back to money is not the end of everything. If people in our country aren't treated fairly, then I don't really care about how much money I make, because that does affect my neighborhood. That does affect my child. That does affect his future. So I don't see a world where if I feel people are being treated poorly, I can support that candidate, because so what? I get more money. Just because my life is good, that's not the best thing for society. And that's not good for my child. Like leaving him a broken country is not something I want to, focus my energy on.
Do you even believe that Trump is actually a fiscally conservative person who actually benefits you financially?
So I will tell you that if you're in finance, a lot of the loopholes that he's allowed to continue on, those people have benefited tremendously. I don't think for for what I do, unless it's like income tax stuff, he's just allowing a lot more loopholes in the tax code. That's really all it comes down to,
right,
in my opinion. But if you're wealthy, you can pay for the best accountants and you could figure the tax situation out regardless of what the policies are.
Right.
And
that's true.
That's real. That's the real reality of the situation. Yes, there are things that more people benefit when you have a Republican president in their eyes, that, maybe the mortgage interest, like whatever it is, like all their different policies. But it's really, really, my business is so different than a private equity that has, the carry tax issues than what my tax issues are. So
right.
I'm sure he is beneficial, but like I can't even see past it because
right,
I see what's going wrong in the country.
And look, we can't pretend like he's not entertaining. The guy, the nicknames, Sleepy Joe, they're some of the funniest things that have ever happened in politics. But why is he as a leader? Why is he a poor leader?
He shows no empathy, and I think leaders, especially, look, when everything was going great and the stock market kept going up and low unemployment, I was like, man, this guy's playing his image works with this because everything is good. But now people are dying. And you see his Twitter handle right now with 100,000 Americans dead. He's trying to throw some MSNBC correspondent under the bed for
he's
murder.
He's accusing Joe Scarborough of killing his intern like 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. And so to me, it's like, at that point, you even the most conservative of people have to look at it and like, if you don't have empathy for human life, are you really a leader? Like, leaders have to show empathy. That's just that's a box you have to check.
100%. All right, predictions. Trump or Biden 2020, who's going to win?
Biden by a landslide.
Wow. Okay. Where is the economy going? When is the economy coming back?
I think it's going to take like 2 years. It's going to be a slow recovery because I think the businesses might be open, but the consumer won't be there.
Fair. Where is life going? So as you're a social person, you're out there. You are having a good time. You get to go to the hottest places, and we miss Brian Toll's establishments. When is life coming back?
I think life for your 20-something single folks, I think life is coming back any day now. I think they will resume their normal life. And then,
what, like Taylor and your boy Pete are going to go out on boats this weekend?
Yes, I think their life, like, when you see what's happening in a Texas or a Florida or a Scottsdale, like, those places already have people back at bars and restaurants. Sure. California will just be a little bit longer, but that'll happen soon. I think for people like you and me, it's going to take us a lot of time to feel comfortable going back to that life. So for me, I would say I'll dip my toes in certain scenarios, but I'm in no rush. Like, I'm not hopping on a plane anytime soon. I'm not going to a football game in Alabama. Like, to me, it's going to take quite a bit of time. I would say this time next year, I'll be living a much more normal life.
Fair. And by the way, that was too much inside baseball. Taylor and your boy Pete are people that are on Dee's group chat show, which is amazing. It's incredible. Before we get to deal of the week, Dee, what type of company would you buy right now? What's a company that makes sense other than PPE? Something that like maybe something that we're just not thinking about, so I can go make that company and sell it to you.
I love anything in retail right now. I'd like to look at all the retail businesses, and I'm talking anything from groceries, coffee, restaurants, everything that everyone's saying is that's where the most interesting opportunity to me is. Rents are going to come down. All big money is going to walk away because they're going to say it's dead. That's like the ripe for opportunity. And so like even something simple as like franchising a Subway or anything like that, like these businesses are just dead right now. And I just feel like go dive deep into those industries.
Okay, so deal of the week is, I'll go with mine first, give you a little bit of a break. So my deal of the week is Wrong Missy. So honestly, there's no good comedy, in my opinion, that comes out on a regular basis. Like, movies aren't funny to me. People aren't generally funny. I like Howard Stern. I think you're funny. I think like a few of my friends are funny. It's just not, it's hard to come across funny people. I really feel that way. This movie, Wrong Missy, is actually legitimately funny, like puke funny. Like, you're just like watching it and you just can't believe this girl that they had. I think her name is Lauren Lipkiss or something. She's like the Jim Carrey, like a female version of Jim Carrey. And basically, it's just it's one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. He meets some girl named Missy. She's great. And then she's a nightmare. And then he meets another girl named Missy, and she's awesome. And he basically texts the wrong Missy to come on a corporate retreat, and he's stuck with like this nightmare Missy for his entire corporate retreat. It's hilarious. You got to watch it. Dee, what's your deal of the week?
Something that I've been playing around with a lot, and I really enjoy doing it, is an app called Duolingo. It's to learn languages, and I want to be in my older age and know more languages than I know today. I basically know English. I know some broken Spanish. Yeah. So to me, like, I sit and just take Spanish lessons on Duolingo. It takes like 2 minutes. Yeah. And I try to knock one out every day.
They gamified it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's easy. When I was coming to and from work every single day or traveling a lot, I would sit in Ubers and just sit there and say "Mi amo," like just scream into it, learning Spanish. But it's it's a great like fun distraction from life, and you get to learn something.
Now we're going to do our legal tip of the week. It's brought to you by my firm, Smith & Benowitz. We do employment, personal injury, and class actions, and we are staying far away from any and all of Dee's entities. This is something that you could probably understand. This is my legal tip of the week. So a lot of people don't like that there are just facts of life. So in litigation, there's two options. You could settle a case, or it gets resolved by some way through the court system. But if you're settling a case, the fact that you have these great positions and these great legal arguments, it's irrelevant. It's just like a market situation. The defendant and the plaintiff have to come to an agreement, and you could be as aggrieved as you want. You could think that you have but like black and white, the letter of the law says blank, blank, blank. Well, if you want to get what the letter of the law provides for you, you're going to have to wait years and years until you get it. If you're okay waiting for that, then you're going to get it. Otherwise, you have to compromise. And a lot of people just can't. It's just like business. Sometimes there's a choice between doing one or two, and there's not necessarily a third choice. And so it's just coming to grips with the fact that sometimes you have to accept where you are. And I think you probably know that just as well as anybody.
Yeah, I've had to settle many cases in my day. I'll never want to go to litigation again. So I'm a big settler.
Let's not tell I mean, you're going to put up a tough fight if anybody gets after you. But
I actually have a legal tip of the week I want to give.
Go for it. Give it. Let's go.
I learned this the hard way many times. Always ask for an estimate from your lawyer before getting started, so you don't get blindsided with a big ass bill.
That is a very good one. I think that's probably rule number one. Yeah. If you don't do that, just get ready for a tough ride. Yeah. Dee, isn't it scary when you sign up for a subscription but the trial period requires your credit card?
Yes.
It is scary. And wouldn't it be great if you never had to submit your actual credit card number, or you could block the merchant from charging you until you've approved it?
I like that.
Okay, well, Dee, that's how it is. With Rock Paper, you create a proxy credit card on demand that's linked to your actual credit card or debit card, and when the merchant can only charge you when you say so, and you don't have to give your credit card to another third party. It's that simple. Get Rock Paper. It's rockpaper.com. Join the movement. Let's go. We really appreciate your time. We know you're a busy man. I think everybody will get something out of this. If you could tell everybody where we could find you online and parting words.
You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm on TikTok, but I don't post. It's all at Dee Murthy, DeeMurty as in Tom, HY. Parting words is be patient. That's all. I don't apply that for everything in your life, and you'll find a silver lining in every moment.
Incredible. That is good advice. Thank you, Dee. I really appreciate it. I wanted to wait until we had you in studio, but who knows when that's going to happen. We'll probably have to bring you in the studio, but we know you're busy. We appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
LawFlip, objection, Your Honor.
Turn the game upside down.
LawFlip, objection, Your Honor.
Turn the game upside down.
Okay, so Ariane, they're asking where they could find us. So for LawFlip, it's at LawFlip and LawFlip.com. For Smith & Benowitz, our law firm, which does personal injury, employment, and class actions, you can find us at Smith Benowitz and SmithBenowitz.com. For the personal stuff, like where you're really going to find the juicy stuff, at Benjy Smith and BenjySmith.com. At Wages Guru and LewisBenowitz.com for Lewis. Oh, so LawFlip is produced, directed, and edited by the young legend Ariane Tabibi, and visual effects and compositions by another young legend, Oren Azad. Intro music provided by Pen Practice. Pen Practice, what is it? Premium instrumentals for upcoming artists by the music industry's top producers. For more info, visit penpracticemusic.com. I had so much fun recording the intro song with my man Hilton Deuce Wright. Looking forward to hearing more and more from Pen Practice. So the LawFlip identity, this hot logo that you're looking at, created by Garrett Whiston and Travis Nagel. Special thank you to Shai and Seth from the Horwitz Marketing Agency. A huge thank you to Aaron and Vanessa from Smith & Benowitz for endlessly dealing with all of our podcast bullshit. And lastly, A huge thank you to our beautiful wives, Julie and Lisa, for supporting our vision, and all the love to all of our 4 boys combined. Disclaimer, this podcast is made available by Smith & Benowitz for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is only intended to provide general information and opinions about legal and other concepts, and is not intended to be used as a source of legal advice or relied on for legal advice. By listening to this podcast, you understand that no attorney-client relationship is being formed between you and Smith & Benowitz or any of its attorneys. This podcast should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a licensed professional attorney in your state.